sea of lava that I can't quite get through. And now I'm entering the fourth, and what I might be thinking of as the final area. And actually there's sort of a hazy map in the instruction manual too, that tells you that indeed Meridia is the fourth area. And it is a huge area, which I can tell because in the lower left-hand corner is that little section that I pass through every time I go through Brinstar with the underwater tube. Nothing is exposed on the map, but already the game is telling me, hey, this is the biggest area you've explored so far. Interestingly enough, this also being the water level is a level that drives a lot of players crazy. I personally love it, though there are a couple of spots where I kind of start to hate it. But, and in fact, I was doing some experiments in dungeon design based on various video game principles, and I ended up naming the dungeon Meridia after this area, just as kind of a tribute to basically one of the games that had handled dungeon exploration the best of any game ever. That might be a bold statement, but the area itself is, again, it's well designed and it's kind of atmospheric. It's got this organic, swampy, underwater plant cave thing going for it. It is filled with water, but at this point water is no longer a problem. And I'm actually very relieved that I managed to get the gravity suit before I came down here. Otherwise this would have been a disaster. And I'm going back in because I did something that normally players don't do, which is you immediately get grabbed by that hand, and I just by luck managed to freeze him. But normally you get pulled down into this door right away. And since I'm trying to be true to a first playthrough kind of idea, we're going to assume that I got pulled into that trap. And now I am completely underwater. I like that the Samus's suit bubbles. That's a nice attention to detail. I might also be noticing that the monsters down here are a little bit more powerful. They take a little more shots before they freeze. And now I find that I'm on the other side of that room where I got pulled down, so that was just a little bit of a gotcha moment, not really a painful screw job, as it were. I can also see that this room proceeds much higher up, and there are a lot of really big cavernous rooms in Meridia. And now becoming an expert in jump control, learning how to get around. And we see this door that is, as I fell past it, you might have noticed, I can't quite get up to that door, and even if I could, it is grayed out, and I can't get in. So again, we're kind of back to the Metroid putting me back on the rails a little bit and saying, no, this is the way you're gonna go. And that's good, because the game is about to pull something really neat. Watch carefully. Oh shit, was that a Metroid? It goes by in a split second as I pass through the background, through that pipe in the background, past those rooms. I don't know if you saw it, but there was a Metroid, which I might recognize, if I hadn't played the original game, I might recognize it from the opening sequence. I'm not going to fight my way through this whole room just yet, because this room is a pain in the ass to get through, and on the other side is something that I can't. It's one of those dead ends where I have to come back later with a different ability. And so I'm just going to ask you to trust me on that one, because that room is such a pain to get through that I don't want to do it more than once. This room is not much better. The falling sand kind of pushes you downward. It hampers your jump. The quicksand on the ground hampers your jump and drags you down. So even though the water doesn't affect your mobility, it still added other things to kind of screw with your mobility. We'll also notice that I'm still on kind of a linear path right now, where the game is just kind of leading me along. Now this room is really interesting. It's one of those things that it's just sort of a little fun Easter egg to notice, but just pay attention to it and remember what it looked like. Damn it, green gate. Can't get through from this side, because I can't shoot a super missile through the gate. If it was a blue gate, I could just get through it with my wave beam, but I can't do that. But maybe I noticed that those guys come out of the floor and get suspicious and discover there is no floor. I'm instantly drawn into the door that is harder to get through. And I am rewarded with the map of this area. And I see that, sure enough, this area is huge, with a lot of cavernous rooms. And I can see that I'm actually pretty close to that little, the little pass-through area. Where Brinstar passes through Meridia. So it'd be kind of neat to see it from the outside, right? To get on top of that tube or get below it. I'm just gonna, you know, manage to land on every monster. Nowhere to go but down. And now the weird thing is, I'm in that passage. So I'm not outside the tube at all. I'm stuck inside the tube. And I really want to explore the rest of the area, because I can see that I can go above and below the tube. Remember that area that I said, remember what this looks like? I don't know if you noticed it, but it was actually a tube like this, but blown out. So maybe now frustrated because I can't explore this area any further, and knowing that I have to go up there or down there to proceed, we try to super bomb the hell out of it. And that is such a neat effect. I really love that. And once again, that's another one of those moments of breaking the rules. A moment that feels like, yeah, you know, I'm off your rails now, Super Metroid. You can't control me. Even though, of course, the game wanted you to do exactly that, it still creates that feeling of, you know, I defy your rails. I will go where I want. You will not keep me from exploring the rest of Meridia. Now, going to the right, I know that leads me around to the other side of that green gate. I've got no interest in going back that way. But I will missile open the door just so that... After you blow open a door using its special weapon once, after that you only need the beam to open it again. Which is why I have a tendency to open all the doors even if I don't go through them. Just to conserve ammo. So in this room, because I'm still exploring, I find myself at the bottom of a pit that I can't quite get out of. Though, if I'm feeling really saucy, and I've learned a lot of lessons from this game, I maybe use the wall jump. I was actually going to use the wall jump to get on top of the frozen piranha fish. And I discover this guy who just... no matter what I throw at him, he just takes it. Through observation of the map, or just through poking around in every room, might find this room. And I find yet another harmless, friendly creature. Not completely harmless, though. This one barrels into me. But, if I stand on him, I find that he helps me get up. And if I really do a lot of acrobatics, I get to this energy tank. Again, this one is completely optional. One of the harder ones to find and harder ones to get through. Sort of a puzzle. But again, if you're doing the diligent searching thing, it feels like a big reward. It's also kind of neat the way so many creatures on this planet just feel like natural animals in their environment. I mean, obviously there's the space pirate and there's a lot of harmful creatures, but there's also just predatory fish and those little things that crawl around and spike me if I get too close. You know, it all feels very organic in a way. Got stuck down here with a pirate. Really hate these red pirates. Ooh. Especially because I'm gonna have to do a pretty good wall jump to get out, aren't I? Wow, this is kind of a sucky room to get stuck in. Unless I'm missing something. Oh, okay, there's a passage right through the wall. Yeah, I probably should have looked around more. I usually don't come all the way around this way. I usually stop at that passage because I know that's where the item is. But it's... no matter how hard I try, it's hard to approach this with a completely fresh mind. And now we're here in this room. Making more effective use of the wall jump that the game taught me. Though, I wouldn't have to. And honestly, I can climb that room. Well, let's go in there. The normal way to get up into this room is to climb through this room. And one of the reasons to do it is to notice a couple of items, like that super missile there, and the missiles down there. Now, the missiles down here are a really touchy item to get, and I'm not, well, you know what? I'll at least show how it's supposed to be done, even though I may not manage it. So the trick with that is starting from this room. This is really a bitch to figure out. I don't know why I'm even demonstrating it, except that it's here, and there's a part of me that just wants to show you, you know, it's part of the fact that the game rewards replay, really. Okay, so we clear the floor of this room. And then we can get a good run going into the next room. And if we time it just right, when you land, you can drop into a crouch, do a vertical shine spark, that vertical straight up boost, and boost straight up into those missiles. And that's how you get them, because there's actually a dash block underneath them. I can't pull it off reliably without a lot of attempts, but there's the dash blocks. So I'm not going to keep trying. You're just going to have to accept that's one of those things Angry just don't do. Though, I'm gonna say, once upon a time in my younger days, I did 100% this game. I did get everything. I used a strategy guide for a few of them. But we are gonna go for the super missile that was in that hidden little alcove, which we actually have to roll into from this side. By holding to the left and rolling through this invisible passage. These guys take a lot of bombs to kill, huh? Super Bomb does it, though. I like having a lot of super missiles. They make some of the boss fights easier. Specifically 2 of them. Which I will talk about when we get there. And now I've lost my wall jumping mojo. There's a slight finickiness. There's a good word for you, huh? With when Samus will do the flipping jump versus when she'll just do a vertical jump. And now this is one of the areas I was talking about where there's a long sort of pain-in-the-ass series of grapples. This is the way you're supposed to proceed through this area. If I go up through this passage... actually, I don't know. I'm actually going to do it. I don't remember where it leads. This might lead back to Brinstar. This might be a shortcut back to a previous area, in which case I'm not going to take it, but... we're just going to explore a little bit. Even though you'll notice that I've been becoming more and more goal-oriented as the game goes on. Yeah. Yeah, this leads back to Brinstar. This is a little shortcut so that I can avoid long backtracking when I get done in Meridia. Yeah, Dice App is saying fuck wall jumps. I'm not great with the wall jumps, but they don't give me as much trouble as the grapple beam. For some reason, I'm just like, grapple deficient. I'm just not good at it. Especially when the game requires me to do, like, a string of them. See, that was absolutely terrible. It's a good thing I save stated so that we didn't have to do that, like, 40 times. So looking at the map, we see that we can go up. And we're actually still kind of trying to make our way back to... We're actually trying to make our way over to the boss to the right. Meridia does admittedly have something of a confusing layout. It kind of loops back in on itself in a few spots. And it's hard to keep a good map of it in your head. Fortunately, you don't have to, because you have an actual map in the game. But even then, just kind of like feeling familiar with... Meridia is one of those areas that never feels very familiar. Fortunately, though, it never really has to, because it's one of those areas that you can just sort of do once. I could have sworn there was a pit there. Guess we'll go to the left. Once you're done with Meridia, you really don't have to go back in, as long as you scour it pretty well. Which is nice, because Meridia kind of represents a big turning point when you're done with it. Actually, a different sort of turning point, though. I do love the music here, though. This actually, I'll tweet a link to it when I'm done with tonight's episode. There's actually a, oh, I fell right into it. That's what's over here. but there's actually a really nice album called Super Metroid Remastered, where it's really nice, very faithful acoustic remixes of basically the whole soundtrack. It was originally put out for charity, and I think if you buy it, you still copies go to charity, or still proceeds go to charity. I'm not sure though. But I'll tweet a link to it in case anybody wants to check it out, because the music in this game was also really amazing. And I don't generally comment on the music, I'm not a music guy, but there are spots where the music is really used to very good effect. It's used to convey a lot of different things. It's used to tell you, it's used to give you a lot of cues. So, going up this way hasn't led me anywhere. I basically found some missiles and a dead end. So now we start to wonder if there's not another way to go. And sure enough, there is. At this point, the game is expecting you to search high and low for your secrets, and it is actually hiding the path to proceed behind them. And this room is sort of a big pain in the ass, too, to be totally honest. I got the little hermit crab coming at me. It's a tough room to figure out what to do. Because the solution is not obvious. First of all, it introduces these... Whoops. I don't need to pause to switch items. Now I'm forgetting basic controls. This is going really well. This introduces these horizontal grapple blocks. Which are a neat way to climb up. But before you use those, you can actually find a secret if you play around with your Shine Sparking a little bit. You might notice on the map in the upper right corner of this room are two little white dots that indicate there are items hidden. So as you jump around trying to figure out where they are, well, there you go. Or you might never find them and simply climb up using the horizontal grapple blocks and go on from there. Then we have another interesting room here, and I'm just going to dash briefly through it because it's a dead end. But it is a dead end, and it's got infinitely spawning enemies. Because again, the game senses that at this point you might be a little low on ammunition, health, other items. And the game, like I said, the game does that a lot to give you these health refills. Using them similar to health recharges and campsites in other games. And I actually kind of like this approach because it feels a little bit organic. Like, rather than I mean, there are a few energy and missile recharge batteries, too, scattered around the world. But there's something nicely organic about, these places being used for recharging you. I'm not gonna... good enough. Which is really boring to watch, sorry. I forgot myself. But, the other nice thing about it is that it's not necessarily intentional. That's not really what I'm trying to say. What am I trying to say here? It's not an obvious spot for a recharge. There's nothing about that says recharge your health or items here. Even though it's clearly what it's intended for, the game doesn't just come out and say that. You know, it's not an ammo crate, it's not a med pack. So it's got this little sense, again, of you figuring out how to use your environment. And there we have it, Metroids. Our worst fears confirmed. The Metroid has already been Well, I don't know if it's your worst fear is confirmed. It is if you've played the first or the second game. But if not, except, if you have played the first or the second game, you'll know that Metroids are a lot harder to kill than that. Checking the instruction manual, you'll discover that these creatures are actually what are called Mocktroids. If you don't check the instruction manual, you might think these are Metroids and be like, oh, what's all the fuss about? They're pretty much harmless and they take 2 hits to kill. But if you check the instruction manual, you'll find out they're actually failed attempts at Metroid breeding programs by the space pirates. I think it's in the instruction manual. Mocktroids. So you can make of that what you will, depending on how much experience that you came into this game with. And now we have another mini-boss. And, honestly, I don't remember this guy's name. He's the only mini-boss in the game. I don't remember his name. He's pretty simple. Floats from one hole to another. And occasionally pauses, sticks his head out, and fires shots that are pretty easy to dodge. You can blast him with missiles, super missiles, or charge beam shots. He takes the most damage from super missiles, so it makes the fight go a little faster if you've got a lot of them to waste. On the excitement scale, he's about 1 step up from Spore Spawn, which means still pretty dull. About the hardest thing about him is actually managing to hit his head instead of his body. And of course, he does speed up a little bit. And then I miss him. I think also once he starts getting faster, he also doesn't like to come out and shoot as much. And his erratic pattern does make him difficult to hit in the head. So he's another boss that's kind of about patience. And as a general rule, anything being about patience gets kind of dull fast. Also, I do not like his very small hitbox. He's actually reminiscent, though, of a really cool Metroid Fusion mini-boss. Actually, he's a boss in Metroid Fusion. So, again, that's something I really want to show off. I'm sorry, I just saw the chat. Dice have to say, poor Eel is just chilling and you super missile him in the face. Well, remember, this is the bounty hunter who caused a complete ecological collapse on planet SR-388 because someone signed a check for her. I mean, she was willing to extinct the entire Metroid race because the space pirates tried to misuse them that one time. Which, when you... Whoops. Ah, shoot. I forgot that there was a pit there. I should have been using my, X-ray scope. Yeah, it's kind of like Samus trying to shut down a dogfighting ring by killing all of the dogs in the world. That is pretty much the equivalent of what she tried to do on SR-388. Right, okay, there's a passage directly above me. That's where I want to go. You'll also notice that there's a pattern of the game giving you energy tanks as a reward for fighting mini-bosses. There tends to be an energy tank at any mini-boss or boss where there isn't an upgrade. I'm no longer fazed by the Mocktroids. And maybe, like I said, if I think those are Metroids, you know, I might at this point be just a little bit complacent or even cocky about this, like, oh, what's the big deal? And not that that would ever come back to bite me in the ass later. There do seem to be a lot of them, though. And if you do let them occupy your space long enough, they will start to drain your health. You may notice at this point that the game is asking me to do a lot of grappling. Just, note that for now. Especially because if you're not great at grappling, this is another one of those frustration points where, you know, you may be getting a little bit tired of the grapple beam at this point. Oh, I missed the second one. That's too bad. That would have looked really cool if I'd managed to get it. That spot is a bitch to hit the hitbox on that one horizontal grapple block. Alright, I've now been at this for 2 hours, but you know what? I'm going to keep going for a little while. I think, because I lost the stream at one point, so the stream did get split. And I could split the videos if I have to for YouTube. I'm having a good time, and I've got my energy up. So we might notice now when we check the map that we are pretty damn close to the boss's symbol. We might have also noticed that this area is unique in that it has a lot of gray doors. Those are the doors that can't be opened until a specific condition is met. Whoa. Alright, that kind of ruined the surprise. I don't know why I came out the door with such momentum. But normally you come in the door, you see the spikes down there. So you start to check this room out. At this point, grappling. This pipe looks interesting, but you discover that... Oh, it's... Did I ever know that was there? So we discover a missile tank there. But we also discover the spikes aren't actually there, they're illusionary. And we have another eye door, which at this point we have come to associate with bosses. The real bosses. Now this is a neat one because the music is actually identical to the music that occurred when I first fought Ridley and escaped from the space colony. But this boss is actually not Ridley. This is a boss called Dragon, who apparently is the mother to all those babies, or depending on whose wiki you're reading, is actually composed of all of those little creatures. And it doesn't help that she also has these turrets on the walls around, which you can shoot out with a super missile. I know I'm not doing much damage to Dragon because I'm trying to show off. She does that swooping attack, she fires missiles, and then eventually she goops you. And if she manages to goop you, she immediately grabs you. And there is nothing you can do but take it. Dragon is a major pain in the ass of a boss fight. I honestly should have save stated before I came in here. Because I think in showing her off, I might be sealing my own fate. Because that's a lot of damage to take. So again, like every other boss, you can hit her in her exposed stomach. Well, in this case, her weak point is the exposed stomach. Yeah, I'm gonna get killed. You can missile her, you can charge beam her, etc., etc., etc. There was a save point right there, so I think everybody's gonna get to see the game over screen at this point for funsies. Because I'm actually gonna show off the easy way to kill her, because it is so cool. Again, nothing I can do in this situation. Oh, I forgot I had reserve tanks. She's still gonna nuke me, though. She does a huge amount of damage. And I'm gonna be honest, I'm not very good at beating her the natural way. Yeah, I got cooked again. That's the end of my show. That's okay. This fight goes very quickly when you know the puzzle. Honestly, if I had started fighting her at full energy instead of trying to show off her attacks, I could probably have taken her out, but I like that. Find the Metroid larva! Oh, you know what? The Edacoons, the little jumping guys, I just realized they don't sing the Samus is loading the game song. What they sing is the You Found an Item song. just that little tidbit from what, an hour and a half ago? Alright. So let's go take out Dragon the real way. Not really the real way, it's actually an Easter egg sort of a way. Whoops. So the trick to it is first and foremost getting rid of the turrets right away. Mainly they're a pain in the ass, but you'll also notice that when they... Oops. Oh, Jesus. If you come into contact with them, the exposed electrical short will hurt you. But you can grapple onto them. The problem is, you take damage from being grappled onto electricity. And that is the secret to killing Dragon the neat way. This is sort of like an Easter egg. It's just kind of a little tough to time it out right. If you manage to grapple onto the exposed electricity, you electrocute yourself and Dragon doesn't take it nearly as well as you do. I just think it's so cool that there is just this way built into the boss fight where you can cheat. Cleverly. Again, that whole, here you go, you can break the rules thing, and you feel smart for doing it. Now, with the two previous big bosses, I was rewarded with a transformation, a physical sign of my victory. And we might think the game is going to do that again, but it doesn't. It does something even more significant. I think there's also a hidden item in here, if I'm not mistaken, but I might be wrong. No, I thought there might have been an E-tank in there. So I just picked up the space jump. What lets me do is jump repeatedly. As many times as I can keep it up, as long as I time it right. If I don't get the timing right, then I drop back down. Basically, I can fly. One of the most substantial abilities to get in this game. Because it basically now allows you to surpass every obstacle. And that's also the reason why there was so much grappling leading up to this. Because from this point forward in the game, the grapple beam is obsolete. I don't need it anymore. I can now just float through areas like friggin' Kirby with a laser cannon. Which I think Kirby could actually acquire in some of the games, right? If he swallowed the right enemy, he had a laser cannon. So while that's not a physical transformation, there's not a visual sign of it, that is such a substantial game changer, such a substantial... It's almost a plot twist in a way, that it drives home the sense that you have just beaten, you have just earned yet another major victory. If you're keeping count based on the gold statue, we now know that the only person left on this planet, the only boss left to deal with, is Ridley himself. And at this point, we might suspect where we have to go, because there is one boss room left in the lava underneath Norfair. Of course, we haven't found anything that very obviously gets us past the lava. And before we leave Meridia, we notice that all the gray doors are now blinking and will let us through. So, rather than backtracking, you know, rather than being forced to backtrack, Meridia, after you beat the boss here, it says, okay, as sort of a denouement, as sort of an epilogue or a letdown, not a letdown, but a falling action, now you can have free reign and kind of explore this area and turn up all the stuff you might have missed. And there's some pretty substantial stuff in here yet. We're not actually completely done with Meridia yet. But at the same time, we feel very powerful now going through it, because we don't have to grapple. We don't have to, you know, now we can basically float through it. So now we find that we're actually all the way back here at the sort of the beginning of Meridia. I'm not entirely sure what I missed over there, but that's okay. I know what I have to get, and that's what's important. If I miss a few optional items, well, that happens. So the first thing I notice is that I'm right back in this big room with that great outdoor up above it. This was the one that I couldn't manage to jump up to, and that I couldn't open even if I could jump up to it. Well, now, I can do both. And you'll also notice that Meridia is now throwing a lot of flying, floating, and jumping enemies. Well, it always was. But we sort of understand the reason for the flying, jumping, floating enemies now. And all the fish and stuff. Is because, as I leave here, I'm now airborne. And so it's important that the enemies can, you know, deal with me in the air, or else there would be absolutely no challenge getting back out of here. The whole area would have been robbed of challenge. This is one of the neatest bits of in-game tutorializing error in the game. So I encounter these little blob enemies, and I discover that I have to hit each one in turn to kill them, and kind of cut my way through. And then I'm in a room with the invincible space pirates. And there's nothing I can do but avoid them because I have no... Oh, apparently... Oh, these are the guys... If you manage to catch them from behind, I think it is, you can hurt them. Which is really tricky to do. But at the bottom of this room is the final beam power-up, the final weapon power-up, the plasma beam. It replaces my three-prong spacer beam with a two-prong spacer beam, but it still works with the charge, the wave beam, and the ice beam. But it cuts through enemies. And this room is full of invincible pirates, so that I realize that I now actually have the strongest weapon in the game, the plasma beam. And that now I'm pretty much unstoppable. But then we get back to this little blob, and I discover something else about the plasma beam that may not have been immediately obvious. It penetrates enemies. It continues traveling, it doesn't stop just because it hits an enemy. And so therefore, I can hit a whole row of enemies or a whole group of enemies with one shot, whereas my other beams could not. And though that blob creature forces me to notice that. Otherwise, that's the sort of thing that I might never really pick up on. And we're going to go ahead and grab... There is one more thing here that we're going to go ahead and grab on the way back, on the way out. That's important. Which I'm pretty sure is optional. But at this point now, I'm feeling like things are starting to wrap up now. I know there's only Ridley left, and I know ultimately my goal was Ridley and the baby Metroid. And I'm pretty sure I even have a good idea of where Ridley is. Between the space jump, the gravity suit, the plasma beam, I have a lot of new tools. I should be able to take Ridley on. So I kind of want to head back that way. But we are going to check out a couple of other rooms here. I don't know what, my reflex is still to grapple, but... And a sort of seemingly dead-end room. Except that, we see that I can go up this way. Whoops. Except, can't go up any further, but I can see that this room on the map continues up above. Going back to the previous room, this is actually a neat little puzzle room too. If I get rid of that block by grappling it, I can then space jump up. And then hopefully I manage to avoid those little floating eye gargoyle things. And come back around to the other side and can get into that door from above. And here I find a strange room. I can kill that creature, but it doesn't get me anywhere. I can super bomb, but all it does is get me to this dirt wall. And this is another one of those optional puzzles, where I kind of have to use a creature in the environment to help me out. The super bombs don't hurt that guy. I'm gonna say this little spot is slow as hell. But the little wall-walkie guy here... will actually burrow for me. It actually harkens back to the end of Metroid 2 on the Game Boy, where you... Whoops, I left my mouse cursor in the way. Where the baby Metroid actually helps you burrow out of SR-388 at the end. I'm not sure if that's an intentional callback or more of a coincidence. But the object on the other side of this is, once again, an optional object. You don't need it to complete the game. At least I don't think you do. Yeah, I'm pretty sure you don't. But once again, like everything else, you are rewarded with an item for exploring. In this case, you get the spring ball, which allows you to jump while you're in morph ball form. Which is something that may or may not have frustrated you throughout the game, that you couldn't do it and that you had to use the bombs to get any lift while you were in morph ball form. I also don't know what the deal is with those little hermit crabs in the shells and why they why you kick them around when you speed boost through them. But anyway, Now that I'm satisfied that I've beaten Meridia, and like I said, I know where my last goal lies now. I know where I have to go. And I'm feeling pretty damn powerful because I can fly, for heaven's sake. And cut through enemies. It is time to go hunt down Ridley. And conveniently, I don't have to go very far, because I'm very near to the tunnel that leads back into Brinstar, which in turn leads back to Norfair, which in turn will lead me to where I think Ridley is hiding, because that stone boss door, because I saw that stone boss door earlier. Of course, if I didn't see that boss door, and that's entirely possible, it's one of those things that's possible to overlook. Then you might be in for a lot of wandering and exploring. And once again, with all of your abilities, there's actually still a lot to find. There's a lot of energy tanks, there's a lot of missile upgrades. So you could, at this point, go back and re-explore the whole game, if that's what you're into. But there's a definite feeling at this point of sort of winding up, of, you know, here I am now at the end of the game. It's time. You know, I know where my last goal is. I have all the objects. In fact, significantly, I kind of pointed out how the status screen helps you out by telling you what you have left to find, and the status screen does point out that I have everything except one miscellaneous upgrade. And maybe I'll find that on the way to Ridley, maybe not. I might scour the whole world looking for it. Or I might just carry on from this point. But either way, it's time to make my way down to Ridley. But again, we're in another spot where the game is going to let you off the reins now and say, okay, you know what? You've got all these tools, and pretty much the whole world is at this point open to you. You can pretty much deal with every obstacle in the game at this point. You can go back. Actually, with one very minor exception. There's pretty much no area you can't access. I always kind of have trouble remembering how to get back down to Ridley's door. Space pirates, no problem. Invincible gray zoomers, no problem. Because I have the plasma beam now. Once again, just feeling very powerful. Which is part of what this game is really good at. It's really good at making you feel powerful and then making you feel weak again in turns. Oh, hey! I don't need to grapple beam through this. Of course, I'm gonna mistime the space jump and end up in the lava, but no reason to be cocky. And now here I am, back down at the mysterious door. Still can't quite figure a way to get over there. But at this point, what the hell? Maybe I can just tank the damage and get through there. And that's how I discover that the gravity suit actually protects me from the lava. Which, I'm not gonna lie, honestly I feel that could have been telegraphed a lot better. The game could have taught you that a lot better. I remember when I played this game for the first time actually standing at the lava for a while, or you know, I wasn't willing to throw myself in the lava, basically. So, You know. I didn't realize right away that the gravity suit was protecting me from that, and then the space jump would let me jump up to that door. But, you know, it's honestly one miss out of 1,000 hits that this game got. We're gonna forgive it. But what's really odd, though, is that we have a mid-level elevator now. Normally these elevators signal transitions between different levels. But in this particular case, checking the map, I'm still in Norfair. I'm just in a different part of Norfair. Which kind of, again, gives the feeling of, you know, like a boss area, a wrap-up, the end game. I'm closing in on Ridley. Soon I will have the Metroid larva back in my clutches. And between the arcing shots of the enemies and the fire geysers, even being able to fly does not make that room any easier. Whoops. And this lava I am not protected from. But I can get across it. Something definitely odd going on here. And I even know how to deal with these things now, don't I? This area becomes sort of a test of have you been paying attention to everything? Do you get it now? And with the lava lowered, we can proceed. Also, this area has one of the most awesome bits of music in the game. Which, again, is not like any sort of revelation. Everybody knows that, or everybody says it. Whoops. I actually like how the little pink bead on the missile, the little pink cap on the missile glows as you enter, because it almost harkens back to the introduction of Ridley, where you saw his eye first, ruining a little bit of a surprise here. The floor down there is actually crumble block, so as soon as I step on it, I'm gonna fall, and I hate missing that missile pack. Whoa. And as a throwback to as a callback to the first enemy in the game, I once again find myself fighting a Chozo statue. This one has a few different moves, including grabbing my missiles and throwing them back at me. But the song pretty much remains the same. Hit him in the abdomen. Super missiles do more damage. Whoops. What the? Oh, I like that little side dodge thing that he does. Huh. I don't think I ever noticed that before. Alternatively, fully charged plasma beam. Which has the added benefit of going right through his guard. I might actually lose it to this guy. Oh, nope, made it just in time. I don't remember that guy giving me as much trouble as he just did. Granted, I'm a little low on health now, but... And I am rewarded with, now, the last item in the game. The screw attack. And what the screw attack does is, when Samus is in mid-flip, she becomes electrified and does damage to anything that touches her. She's also mostly invincible. Which means while space jumping, nothing can touch her. Oh, she also cuts through cuts through certain blocks to grab more super missiles. It's a good thing that this is the last ability in the game, because this one really is sort of the ultimate game changer. Which kind of lends itself to the idea that, alright, now it's really time for the end of the game. I'm very grateful for the energy recharge. Because now not only can I fly, but I'm invincible when I'm doing it. And those red beetles that used to be invincible, that I had no weapon to kill them with, now I just cut right through them just by jumping. But still, one of them bites me in the back of the head. Yeah, Dice App is saying Screw Attack is the best item in the game, and that is absolutely true. It is supposed to be. So we're going to go ahead and keep exploring. And we can cut right through... Whoops. I actually got caught up on the terrain. That was odd. Cut right through these obstacles. Cut right through these space pirates. You can still take damage from things. You're not totally completely invincible. Most specifically, those skullhead weapons. The lava is rising below me, but with the screw attack and the space jump, no problem. At this point, you're just basically cutting through the game. Basically, Samus just cutting a bloody swath through the world. But we're going to check out this room a little bit more. And it's important that we do, because if we don't, what we're going to find, and I'm not going to wander through it, is that this path leads us into a big loop. It doesn't get us anywhere. Which tells us that we missed something along the way. And so the second time we check the path and come to this place, we discover this secret passage underground, which is where we have to go next. And now the game is no longer messing around. I'm not cutting through it anymore. I've got these enemies that take 5-6 hits to kill. But I can just stand on the platform above, and again, cut right through them. So again, you have that real sense of things building to a climax. Though, well, no, I'm not gonna bring that up at this point. Now again, using our super bombs to explore. You know, a habit that has saved us a lot of time in past rooms. These guys are really hard hitters. They do some of the highest damage in the game. Gee, could that secret passage be any more obvious? Oh, but what about that one to the lower left? Because everybody can use just a few more power bombs, right? The music and the atmosphere here are great. Like I said, everything kind of leads itself up to that sense of, you know, just the building toward a confrontation. And And then we face these guys, who are a major pain in the ass. These guys can only be hurt when they turn gold. So they do that jump kick, and they briefly become vulnerable. And I'm not really good at dealing with them. Come on. Honestly, not gonna lie, absolutely hate this fight. But you have to beat it, it's another one of those great outdoors, so... Also, I like the TVs hanging from the ceiling, like the ancient bird statue TVs up there. Ah! I honestly hate any fight in a video game that is based on the random number generator giving you the one opportunity. Really do. Just irks the hell out of me. Roll the dice to see if you're allowed to attack this round. And then we might notice that the game is throwing at us the infinitely respawning enemies to let us recharge. And I hate to do it, but I'm actually going to go ahead and recharge in this case. But then, I mean, we all know what's coming at this point. This is what I've been working toward, so... if you didn't go in with full everything, you'd be kind of dumb. And honestly, I'm lower on energy and missiles than I ever have been going into what comes next. So I confess I'm a little nervous about that. As you may have noticed, I'm not, like, fantastic at dodging and platforming. And I really want full health, and I really want full ammunition. So... in the meanwhile, checking the map, you can see what we're approaching. So again, no secret. You know, this is what's coming. This is what it is. Alright, I think I'm good enough. I just don't want to run out of ammo in the middle of the fight. Alright, you know what? That should be good enough. What's the worst that happens? I die. A room I don't have to deal with. And an eye door. And now we know what that means. A save state just in case. And now, at long last, we have found Ridley. So Ridley is a pretty vicious fight. He's very fast, swoops around, launches fireballs. His tail will hurt you. And he also does this grab attack thing to pick you up and strike you with his tail. Which I decided to purposely demonstrate. I wasn't just being clumsy. his tail blocks your attacks, and so he tends to keep his back to you. And I spent most of my super missiles missing him. Ridley actually works out to be a very visceral fight, in that there's a lot to be said for just sort of unloading into him. It's fast, it's primal, it's kind of vicious. There's nothing to figure out. You know, there's no puzzle to this, there's no weak point. It's just blast away. And I think I lost this fight. Yeah. But maybe not. I forgot I had a couple of reserve tanks. I missed him too many times as the fight opened, and I was showing off his attacks and let myself take a lot more damage than I should have. Alright, so Ridley wins. But that's why we did this. Alright, so now for reals. This is one of those fights where you know you're just going to take a lot of damage. It's going to come down to the last hit point. And this is one of the fights that I was saying I like to have a lot of super missiles for. Because he takes a lot of damage from the super missiles compared to the missiles. And then when we get down to missiles, once we get a good shot on him, we just unload. It's also tricky that he can use the upper areas of the arena. He can fly very easily, he's much more maneuverable than you, and it's hard to keep him in view. Having to do this with the charge beam is awful. I didn't quite have enough ammo. And again, I missed a few too many times. Though I seem to have locked... Oh, I did! I got him! Okay, I locked his AI into a loop, apparently. Normally, I would have explored a lot more of the game and picked up more of the energy tanks and more of the missiles, but still beat him. And now, having beaten Ridley, your only reward is a broken canister, which once contained the Metroid larva. And in this way, the game tells you you're not quite done. And now, it's not quite clear what to do from here. Until you think about that statue that you saw. And now you realize that you have put out all 4 lights. But there was also this little kind of worry that you have over, well, you know, what became of the Metroid larva? You know, where is it now? And have I failed? Is this over now? Obviously, with the game still going on, you don't seriously believe you failed. But through the whole game now, you have been in pursuit of Ridley and in pursuit of the Metroid larva. And that was the goal that the game presented you. And now, just like how in previous areas, the game has thrown you into new places where you didn't have a map and you're flying blind, now, in a sense of the story, in a sense of the goal, the game has now dropped you into an area where you are flying blind. You have no idea what's coming now. All you know is that you found Ridley, and he didn't lead you to what he was supposed to. And now, with just a vague sense of going back to that statue, you're really and truly facing the unknown. So again, it's all about that pacing thing. It's all about that, you know, building you up and taking it away. You beat Meridia and you knew where to go next. You knew, okay, I gotta go find the last boss. I know right where he is. That statue told me he's probably Ridley. I know where he's hiding. So you went there with a goal, with a purpose, knowing that you were going to be done, that you were going to finish your mission. And now the game kind of snatched that away from you and hit you with a plot twist. And really, when you get down to it, it's actually the same thing it has rewarded you with after every other boss fight. In sort of a weird way, when you get down to it, every upgrade in this game is a plot twist. It suddenly opens new areas, it gives you completely new abilities, and it changes the way you're playing the game. So, and with the Varia suit, the gravity suit, and of course the space jump, those were major twists. Those were big changes. They were big visual changes. Ability-wise, they may not have seemed like the biggest things in the world, but, like I said, from a visual standpoint, and just from a standpoint of opening new possibilities, they were major plot twists. And that's exactly what beating Ridley did. It rewarded you with the same sort of plot twist, except in this case, the plot twist wasn't, here's a new area to explore, here's a new possibility, but it was something completely unknown. That is, everything you've been pursuing up to this point, that's not really what you've been after. So now how are you going to deal with this? And what could be coming next? So it's this neat little parallel. Oh, I guess I should just freeze you, shouldn't I? I totally forgot that power bombs took those guys out. Now the trick too is if you kill all the beetly bugs and you get the lights to go out, you can just wander back in and the lights will come back on. I realize I didn't really explain much of what was going on in that room, but I think you kind of figured it out. I knew there was a secret there. It's also a little ominous that the game is still throwing energy tanks at you. Because again, with you not knowing what's coming next, it's... Discover I can't proceed any further in this direction. I'm actually going to pause for 1 second and split the stream, just to make this easier to archive to YouTube.